السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وارنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. ربنا اغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الراحمين. آمين. والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين. We have been studying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We have been studying the story of Mary in the Quran. So we studied the last one about Mary's mother wanted to have a son. She was pregnant, and she promised that she would devote the son to the temple. It means to serve God's religion and become a devout person and worship and a learned person in religion and help people to understand what the truth is about the reality of this life, this world. So, of course, she gave birth to a daughter, and she said, "But I wanted to devote the son to the temple. What shall I do?" God said, "No, there is no difference between boys and girls, so you can devote the girl to the temple as well." So now we understand that Mary was in the temple, but devoted her life to learning and worship, as whatever is to be done in the temple. And God says now, فتقبلها ربها بقبول حسن فأنبتها نباتا حسنا وكفلها زكريا كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب إلى آخر الآية وجد عندها رزقا قال يا مريم أنى لك هذا قالت هو من عند الله إن الله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. So we understand from here that her Lord graciously accepted her, Mary, as a girl serving the religion of God and being a devotee in the temple. It is interesting. Of course, we will talk about it because it needs to be talked. The reason is we think that religious learning, I mean, not everybody, but it's a general understanding that religious learning only pertains to men. And also serving religion is also a man's duty. And also going to masjid, going to the mosque, and staying there and remaining all your life, spending all your life in the mosque is also a menace work, seems to be. But interestingly, God demonstrates the example of Mary here to us. From many perspectives, it is interesting. First of all, the name of Mary is mentioned in the Quran, and in a very appreciative way, as an example, is one of the perfect example of a human being. Mary was introduced to the audience of the Quran, to the readers of the Quran. That is one thing. Another thing, Mary was devoted to the temple, it means to the mosque, or in terms of Islamic term, praying place. We call it mosque or masjid or jamia, whatever you call it, and staying there. Although it is not a common practice among the Muslims, but this is not blamed. On the contrary, this is encouraged in the Quran, devoting one's life to religious learning and worship. So Mary was there in the temple. God graciously accepted her and made her grow in goodness. بِقَبُولٍ حَسَنٍ, and entrusted her to the charge of Zechariah. It means Mary was under the guardianship of somebody who's called Zechariah. They say it is Zechariah is his, some of the close relatives. I don't want to mention whether it's uncle or whatever. It doesn't matter. It means if you trust God, God will assign somebody to take care of you. If you trust your child also to a person, then he will take care of him or her. So it is interesting that we should learn from these lessons, as we discussed last week. The main concern of Mary's mother was her being a devotee to God, not her provisions. It is interesting. We are much more interested with the future of our children as far as their worldly lives, to have a profession, to make sure that they get a job, they get married, these kind of things. But at the same time, we want them to be religious, but it is just next to it, if not secondary to it. We want them to learn something of religion, not to be completely away from religion. That is the general trend among the Muslim community. General trend, there are exceptions. If someone wants their children nowadays to be educated in religion, mostly it is something to do with profession. It means he will be a scholar, he will be an imam or sheikh or whatever, community leader or public speaker, and it will be his profession in this world, but this profession has something to do with his provisions. It means income. Of course, he will have family life, he will have worldly responsibilities. He should have something, but the parents' main concern should be primarily to educate them how to become a very pious, practicing believer, worshiping God and knowledgeable in religion. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't educate people, our children, in a profession or in doing something in this world in order to gain their provisions or their worldly needs. They are not exclusive, but what is important, we learn from this story of Mary's mother story, not Mary's story, Mary's mother's story. We learn from it that from this story, our main concern must be children's safety in their relationship with God, getting to know him, acknowledging him, worshiping him, knowing his guidance, his religion, his revelation, becoming aware of what God requires of human beings. This must be our main concern. The other worldly affairs must be adjusted according to the teachings of the Quran, not other way around. So primary concern must be something to do with educating our children in religion and praying to God for their success in being a devout worshiper of God. Then may trust in God in our relationship with the children. But we have to keep the balance, but give the priority to their education in religious matters. Our prayer has great influence. It's very effective. First of all, prayer affects the attitude of the person, intention of the person, attitude of the person, consequently, and accordingly, our relationship will be based, our relationship with our children will be based on according to the direction of our prayer, if you like, or content of our prayer. So we will pay attention to the our relationship as far as our prayer allows us, as far as our prayer leads us. It is the right word. This distracted my attention. So whenever Zechariah went in to see her in her sanctuary, she had her own place for herself, and she was busy whatever she wanted to do there. So whenever she entered into her sanctuary, he found her supplied with provisions. But isn't that interesting? The Quran specifically mentions that if you give the priority to your children's responsibility towards their God, but this is priority. It's not the only thing, the priority. There will be a means that God definitely will create a means to supply the provisions. And he said, Zechariah said, Mary, how is it you have these provisions? Where did you get these provisions? Because anytime Zechariah went into her sanctuary, her chamber, her room, he found provision next to her. This is narrated as a sign of miracles. Now, but mentioning this miracle should mean something to us. What does it mean? God creates everything in a miraculous way. Yeah, we know that everything in the universe is given existence in a miraculous way. No one can do anything what God does. So, God says, look, in this specific creation for Mary, specific creation for Mary, I provided the food next to her in her room. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to give you food miraculously next to you like I did to Mary. But it is possible that I can give your provision in a way that everybody is accustomed with, not as an exemption to the order of the universe. Now, this is one of the interesting way of understanding the Quranic message. In the Quran, there are many miracles are mentioned, miracles of the prophets usually, or in a miraculous way of creating an event, a thing, so that those people who deny and reject, who deny the message and reject the messenger and try to kill or expel the messengers, miraculously, as the Quran narrates the events, they are punished or destroyed. But it doesn't mean that we have to see the destruction of the deniers in a miraculous way. Miracles means an exceptional way of creating a thing, exception to the order of the universe in an exceptional way, as far as the order of the universe is concerned. But for me, most probably for you too, the things are not expected to happen in an exceptional way. The things may happen, will happen in an order. We have to understand this within an order, but still, order is arranged by God. Everything is created within the order, is also created in a miraculous way, but within the order so that it looks ordinary for us. It's quite normal. When the weather gets hot, the water on the surface of the sea and the ocean and everywhere evaporates. We see that this is an ordinary event. But in fact, it's not an ordinary event. it is a miraculous way of creating. The clouds at the end, evaporations and steam comes out, it goes up, and it doesn't come, for example, it is so light, so the gravity will not take it down and make it stay on the land. These are all arrangements of the miraculous actions of the creation. But all these miraculous actions are performed by God. God is the one who creates the order of the universe. When he gives us a clear example that Mary was in her sanctuary and her provisions were just provided in a miraculous way next to her. By narrating this, God is inferring or teaching us that he will create it for you in an accustomed way. You are accustomed with the order, within an order, but through his miraculous way of creating. Creates a reason, a cause for it within the order of the universe. We think that it is a normal way of happening, but it is the arrangement of the absolute power of the Creator. That's what we have to learn. First of all, we have to make sure that even the things happen within the order of the universe are happening as a result of the will of the Creator. But it is happening, as far as we are concerned, within an accustomed way. But in the examples, God makes it so clear that it is me, God says, it is me who is providing the provisions, supplying the provisions for you in a miraculous way. That is why when I go and pick up the apple or orange or any fruit or any vegetable from the plant, from the tree, I have to be aware that this act of creating the orange on the branch of the orange tree is a miraculous action. It is provided, supplied by God's will for me. Although I am used to seeing that the oranges are created on the branches of the tree, orange tree, it doesn't mean that it is an ordinary and regular action not happening by itself. That is why the Quranic miraculous narrations of the miraculous creations must be applied to our practical life as well. We cannot say, we should not say that, oh, Mary was so devout a person, so God provided her food miraculously in her room. Of course, God is not going to provide my food in my room. God will. But it is an obvious example, making it clear that this creation of miracles is the miraculous creation of God. You will be receiving your provisions in a miraculous way, but it may happen through a veil of the order of the universe. I feel that this understanding of the Quran is very interesting to me. While we are reading the Quran, when you read any miraculous demonstration of the action of God, we should not disassociate ourselves from it. We should relate it to our life. Yes, even when I eat one orange, this provision of orange is or has reached me in a miraculous way, but within an accustomed way, not in an unaccustomed way. The miracles of the prophets are happening in an unaccustomed way. That is the difference. But they are, everything is, I'm repeating this today a lot, everything is a miraculous act of creation anyways. So Mary's answer is so confident in her belief. Zechariah asks her, how is it that you have these provisions? When I come here, it is there. Where do they get them? As far as we know, the order of the universe, you don't work for it. You don't cultivate the land. You don't go and buy. You are in the sanctuary all the time. But her answer teaches us a lot. She said, they are from God. That's it. God, the creator of the universe, creator of the order of the universe. We can create anything within the order. That is a change in the order according to the will of the one who established the order. Order is in his hand. But do you think he is creating everything within an order in order to teach us how we should have a relationship with him? If we want to ask him to give us something, he says, okay, follow this sequence of causes or chains, then I will create it for you. That is how he teaches us. But it doesn't mean he is bound by the order he himself established. He has established order as with his absolute free choice. Nothing can prevent him from choosing anything. By definition, we see that he must have an absolute choice, absolute free will. Not like me, limited free will, extremely limited free will. You cannot compare it with absolute free will. So, not like me, I'm bound to the limits of the order that I am accustomed with. But the creator of the order cannot be bound by his own will. It is contradictory, logically contradictory. I am an absolute being, creates an order, and he is bound by his order. Logically impossible to accept. So Mary is teaching us in the example, they are from God. So God provides limitlessly for whoever he will. That is how the reality of this universe is. Although it may take within the order as far as we are concerned, but as far as the creator is concerned, the order should not limit his free will, because order is his product. So it's a very interesting language that we have to learn. Inna Allah yarzuqu man yasha'u bighayri hisab. That's what we have to do. From whoever he will, bighayri hisab is interesting, although I see now that the meaning of bighayri hisab, one of the meaning, yes, limitless, بغير حساب. But another meaning is بغير حساب, that then you cannot imagine, you cannot calculate it in an uncalculated way. You cannot really follow the chain of orders, how the order is manifesting itself. You cannot calculate it. Yes, look, let's work on this subject and try to understand it, what this بغير حساب means. For example, I see that I have learned from my previous experience that if I put a seed of an orange fruit into a soil, what happens? It should, and if I keep it damp and wet, and the season comes and shoot comes out of the seed. From my previous experience, I understand that the shoot will come out. But if I didn't know from my previous experience, can I ever imagine that think about it, we have never seen, never experienced before. Just the first time it happened to be, it's an example, it happened to be, there is an orange seed in my hand or an orange fruit in my hand. And I've seen something hard in it. I looked at it. I took it to the lab, studied it. Can I ever imagine, calculate, out of this seed, an orange tree will come out, will grow. And this orange tree is going to produce, although the tree doesn't produce, but the order is like this. Order is established in this way. Oranges on its branches. And within the oranges, there will be many more seeds. Don't worry. You can plant, you can have as many oranges as possible. It is a promise from the Creator. Is there any way that I can calculate? No, impossible. Isn't that miraculous way of creating that we cannot calculate it? We cannot hisab. It means we cannot count it like this or calculate it. You know, the mathematics is called the ilm al-hisab, calculation. Now, it is very interesting to me. We have to understand that according to us, because of our previous experiences, the things are coming into existence in an ordinary way. It is a misconception from our side. Nothing is ordinary in this world. So Mary's example demonstrates this to us clearly, and inshallah we can discuss more about it if you like, how we are going to understand the Quranic examples of miracles. That is why we say nothing mentioned in the Quran shouldn't be excluded. Nothing should be excluded from our practical life. Oh, Noah was able to make his ark under the instruction of God. So God is not instructing me specially. I cannot make an ark. I cannot make a ship. You can. Because the way that human experiences accumulate on top of each other, generation by generation, it is taking place under the instruction of God's way of creating. That is why the Quran specifically says, you cannot learn anything from the knowledge of God unless He permits you to learn. You know, in the verse, we call it the throne verse, Ayatul Kursi. In the Ayatul Kursi, it says, وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. You cannot encompass any knowledge from Him except He permits. Now, He permits gradually as we try to learn more and more how this miraculous way of creation is taking place in the world. But we are so ungrateful creatures. We say, this is what we learn in the order of the universe, that this is always happening in this way. It is normal. No, a shoot, a tree is coming out of the orange tree is not normal. According to your previous experience, you know that it is, you learn that God creates in this way. That is why you say it is normal. Those people who don't believe in God as the creator, they don't say normal, they say natural. We have to be very careful with our language. Even if I say normal, I have to bear in mind that this is the way I am accustomed with. Otherwise, it is a miraculous act of the absolute creator's power, absolute power of the creator. Now, it is a miraculous way of creating it. It is not normal. Definitely, it is not happening by itself, cannot happen by itself. Nothing can come into existence by itself anyways. Again, it is contrary to our logical experiences or logical reasoning. So, if there is any comment, question, concern, or rejections, please go ahead. Otherwise, I will move to the next verse. Now, we are closely coming to the age of Mary as she's growing now. Historians say she was 13, 14 years old when she was pregnant in a miraculous way. Again, it is in a miraculous way presented to us in the Quran. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وإذ قالت الملائكة يا مريم إن الله اصطفاك وطهرك واصطفاك على نساء العالمين. The angels said, Mary, God has chosen you, purified you, and chosen you above all women in the world. It means God has made the ideal woman as far as protecting one's chastity. Now, it is an example of chastity presented to us in the Quran. What she did, she devoted her life to God, to worship of God, learning God's religion. And angels said, now we have another problem here. If we are not careful, it is a problem. If we are careful, it's not a problem. Angels said, God has chosen you. Now, who is Mary for me now? Of course, this is something that God gives me as an example. Okay, I take it. But how am I going to do in my life now? So Mary is the one who has been chosen in the creation of every man and woman is chosen, perfectly created. God says, I created everyone in a perfect way. So try not to spoil your perfection. She's in the sanctuary, always being conscious of God, so she will not spoil her primordial nature, the way she is created in her potentialities. What we do, we may not use our potentialities. We may spoil our potentialities, ruin our potentialities through our free will. We may not, or partially, usually, partially we will be successful, and partially we may not be successful. But this is the ideal example of chastity, devotion to God. Of course, we have to bear in mind also the prayer of her mother behind it. So we have to see that what my responsibility is to pray to God to make my children, my progeny, to be devoted to God, God conscious people, to be God conscious people. This is my personal responsibility, but the children will have their own free will. So within the order of the universe, as God creates, we learn that our prayer may be answered in this way, in a way as we want, or as God wants, the best fitting to our prayers. But we may not see which is best fitting to our expectations. In the case of Mary's mother, she prayed God to have a boy baby. God gave her a girl baby. Did God accept her prayer? Yes. Responded to her prayer in even a better way. Gave her Mary. She was to be the mother of a prophet, a miraculous creation, birth of a prophet. Which one is better? To have a boy, not have these consequences, what happened later on, or to have a girl, to be a mother of a prophet whose birth was miraculously presented to humankind. Which is better? If you were a parent, if you knew the result, for example, me, I would prefer a daughter, definitely. Why? Look at the result. I mean, unimaginable. So we don't know. We pray, and our children may not be, or we may not find them as we expected them to be. I am not responsible for my children. I am responsible for my prayer for my children. Do we see this? I will repeat this sentence. I am responsible for my prayer for my children. What happens to the children is left to God. I cannot guarantee the future, and my prayer cannot be a source of guaranteeing my future, what will happen in the future. My prayer is only a way of besieging God. That is what I want. But I leave the result to you. You will create it as you want, whatever is best for the future of the children, how best they deserve to be created. You will judge according to their intention. But that is my prayer. So what we see that the Maryam is chosen by God as an example to other human beings, and also purified. God purified him. It means the angels are speaking. That's what we have to understand from that. From there, we know that angels are the executors of God's will in this world. Now, God doesn't need executors, but we need executors in order to see, observe, experience the manifestations of the absolute qualities of the Creator. We need the transformers, like the broadcasting, let's say TV broadcasting. It's a simple example, very simple example. Of course, it's just a simple analogy. The one who broadcasts don't need the TV machine. He broadcasts it. But because it is in the air, not in the air, but let's say in the atmosphere, in the form of wavelengths, frequencies of something, kilohertz or some, whatever they say, technical words. Can I see the broadcasting? No, I can't. How can I see it? I need transformers, because it is beyond my capacity to see the waves, whatever this, magnetic waves or electrical waves, I don't know, whatever they are, I don't see them. But when I have the transformer, oh, it is on my screen. You can use it as an example, but don't confuse that. Angels are like that. Angels are TV screens. No. TV machines. No. But this is an example. The difference between the broadcasters and the recipients. Now, Creator manifests his absolute quality, which is beyond my perception, the capacity of my perception. I need it in order to see it in the form of this world, as I'm experiencing the things around me. A transformer. That is what I need. That is the function of angels, to transform the absolute will of the Creator into a form that I can see it. I can experience it. But I can see that it is coming from an absolute source. I can also see that it is not the angels who are creating it, transforming it. Of course, when I watch the TV machine, on the screen, I see the broadcastings, but I know that it is not the TV machine producing it. It is just a transformer. This simple example explains it. It makes it easy for me to understand the function of the angels, why God creates angels, to make it available for me to see the result of his manifestation of his choice. what he has decided to create. So angels are functioning in this way. Of course, in our example, the machines are not conscious beings, TV machines. In our example, broadcasters are human beings. But this example, I should see that if I cannot see the broadcasting, I need transformer. That's it. So if I cannot see the absolute power of the creator, I need transformer. But in this transformer, in this world, the TV machine. But as far as the act of creation of God is concerned, they are angels. So this angel said, Mary, God has chosen you. Now, let me think about my creation. The angel who executes my creation is also telling me that, Ali, God has chosen you, purified you, and chosen you about all other human creatures in the world that say it in this way, according to my position. Why? I have been given the Spirit from God's Spirit. I can know God in the best way. If only I use my free will, I can get to know God fully. Fully means not in essence, become aware of his absolute qualities and confirm it. But am I now in this position? I'm sure I'm not. So I can admit, I don't know about you. I admit I'm not. But I know potentially I am able. Now it is possible, this example of Mary narrated in the Quran teaches me that it is possible you can keep your pure creation without spoiling it. So the angels who carried the command of God, which required your existence, gives you the news in your example, in your existence. Your potentiality is pure and perfect. Try to preserve it, not to corrupt it. Try to do that. It is possible. The example, ideal example of Mary in the Quran is demonstrated to us, given to us. Look, it is possible. You can do this. It is not beyond possibility. It is possible. So the angels are coming and reminding me, and the example Mary, and in our example, you and me, that we are created with perfect nature, if you like, perfect form, if you like. In other words, everybody knows ahsan al-taqwim. It means the best form. Every human being is created in the best form. But in the Mary's example, specific example, here we are. And the same angel continues to speak. Ya Maryam, ay Mary, oh Mary, uqniti. You know qunut? I don't know, in some method, when you stand up, you raise your hand and start praying to God. In Arafat also during Hajj. And direct speaking to God, which is called qunut. And it is famous for prayers, qunut prayers. So it means total devotion. You and your God is as if face to face. as if you are seeing God, praying, please, my creator, I know you are the one who created me. You are who are the one who is creating me right now. I am asking you this. This is called the Qunut prayers. So the word is here, uknuti, to the women, uknut ukniti to the women. So devote yourself to your God. Be conscious of him, always present in your life. In order that the angels is teaching how to preserve his purity, her purity, how to preserve her chosen position, how to be best example of women in the world. Yeah, stop. Okay. على نساء العالم. How to do that? So prostrate yourself in worship. اقنتي لربك واسجدي. Now that's what we have to do. Prostration is very important. Why? In the prostration position, you physically, bodily also express that you are nothing before God. You cannot compare yourself with God. The more you realize your neediness, your createdness, you become perfectly aware of your reality, the brighter, the more clearer your concept of your recognition of conscious of God becomes. You say, I cannot do anything. It means everything is done by him. If I say, I cannot do, for example, I cannot create the universe, I cannot create the earth, I cannot create an animal or a plant, but I can create a nice cake or nice art. That's what people use. They think that art is creation, and that is a practical language, I know. But at the same time, we have to be careful what we mean by any word we use. But I can create some pieces of art. I can create the perfect recipe for a cake, for example. Simple example. What happened? You didn't prostrate. You didn't make yourself and acknowledge your reality. You cannot create anything. You can only use what is given to you. Utilize it. You are the recipient. You are not the creator. Prostration in the conditions of this world is the best way of expressing one's reality. Spiritually, you are the most humblest way, prostrating. Consciously, you know what you are doing intellectually. You are nothing before God. Of course, you are a perfect creature. You are nothing before God. You are a creature. You are perfect because you are created in a perfect way. And bodily also, I cannot claim my body belongs to me. I cannot claim that I use my body as I want, as I will. No, I have to utilize my body in order to acknowledge the blessings of my God, grace of my God. Prostrate. Spiritually, intellectually, and physically. So that is the way of keeping one's purity, perfection in her initial, primordial creation, perfect creation. The other thing, the angel advises Mary, therefore me, you. So وَارْكَعِي مَعَ الرَّاكِعِينَ. Bow down with those who worship. What a beautiful thing, bow down with the other people. Always try to be with the people who are humbling themselves before God, not standing up against God's will, not standing up against God's power and challenging him, saying that you are not the creator, but nature is happening. What is happening there? Nothing but natural events. These are not the people who are bowing down. So be with the people, accompany them, those people who bow down before God. Always looks to the earth down. I came from there. I am going to be taken to there. You got it? Bow down to the earth. It means never stand up before God. You see, understand. Never stand up before God. Always modest. This is very important, not only while you are walking, while you are doing things, even you are successful. When you are very successful in any action, people appreciate it. What you do, bow down before God, not before the audience, as those people who perform any theater or in a demonstration, let's say public demonstrations. They bow down before people. Bow down before God. Those people who are modest, accompany with them. And you have to be with them as well. So ruku' means bowing down to worship. Wassalamu alaikum. Inshallah, we will try to adopt these miraculous actions narrated in the story of any prophet, any figure in the Quran, regardless whether Mary is a prophet or not. None of my business. It is my best example. That's it. And I have to benefit from these examples, not thinking that they are some extra actions, creations, nothing to do with me. I should not admire only Mary. I should admire her position and take some lesson from it and try to apply to my real life. Exactly, I have to hear the angels speaking to me, saying that Ali, God created you in the best form, has chosen you above other creatures, and purified you in your spirit, if you like, in your primordial creation, in the original creation, make it simple, and you can be a best example for other people. And the same angel who brings the command of God to me, or the message of God to me, and executes my existence, or transforms the order of God, will of God, into the form of that I am given now, and says you have to be absolutely humble, modest. Don't claim anything that you own it. Be careful with these instructions. And it is a best example for me as well. Inshallah, we will take lesson from it as much as possible. And the time is up, even 5 minutes. I'm sorry. So I have to stop here. And inshallah, we will continue next week, next Wednesday, Mary's story. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين بحرمة